with that, obviously, it's not just rainbows. Sometimes, okay, this relationship doesn't make sense anymore. This partnership doesn't make sense, or there's no synergy. That's fine, but you adjust along the way. But yes, that's how you find good people. You just start a podcast and connect with them, or start a meetup. Seriously, though, all jokes aside, it's just connect. Put yourself out there.
All right, guys, welcome to another amazing episode. Today we have Ruben Kanya. He is the owner of Invested Talent. You can also find him on IG at the Real Estate Experiment. He is a real estate entrepreneur and marketing entrepreneur. So we're going to dive in a little bit with him about what he does, how he does it. Ruben, if you could take it from here and just give us a little intro about where you come from, what is your niche, and we'll start diving into different subjects from there, man.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, thanks for having me. Such a pleasure to connect with you guys. And obviously the serendipity here is that we connected on social, which you guys know I'm big on that. But as you said, I'm the owner and director of Invested Talent. I think you talked about the Real Estate Experiment, which is really a brand that I built to share my journey. You guys will hear me. I'm far from an expert. I'm a student of the game, and I just happen to surround myself with people who are 10 steps ahead of me. And so that's what the experiment is about. It's about experimenting things underneath the umbrella of real estate so that you can kind of niche down and understand what you like. So I don't know how far you want me to go back, but I can definitely tell you a lot of the experiments that worked in that field, and why I do what I do now, and how I happen to kind of niche in. But I just want to say thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So let's go first. As what do you do now, and then give us like a quick, synopsis of what was your aha moment and how you got there.
Sure. So this was about probably what is it? I've been in the game for, let's take a step back. So I guess a few years back, going back to as far as 2014, I did like a rehab with a contractor. This was just busy work. I was just kind of getting out of school, and I was doing some extra work. I've done a lot of different jobs for sure. So I started experimenting. That was cool. So I was listening to Bigger Pockets and all that stuff. But I think there was definitely a pivotal moment in around 2015, actually, no, I should say 2017, actually, where I said, hey, I came out, I had a degree. I was working as a business analyst, which I still do today. And I took a year off. I'm like, I'm getting my license. I want to get into this game. So at first I got into wholesaling, which I used, basically I connected with somebody on Bigger Pockets. I picked their brain. They're a physician. They had the means, they had the capital. I had the time because I'd taken some time off, and I started exchanging my time for experience and leveraging. He was doing the mail campaigns, etc. Got a first wholesale deal that way, and then kind of build on that. But then I quickly realized, I'm like, man, like, I don't know. I'm not really, I think the key takeaway here is that people have success in a lot of different things, but you got to figure out what it is that works for you, right? And so then that kind of led on to, I got my license so I could just have an extra tool. So when I am wholesaling, I could kind of also maybe have a different exit strategy for people. And then so I got that sales license, and from then I did a lot of different things like showing homes on the retail side and stuff like that. And I quickly realized, no, it's not. I'm a big systems guy and kind of scaling guy. I'm like, this is not scalable, but at the same time, I understand what I like and don't like. And I think that's really important for those of you who might be listening. Which then led on to, I started working with a commercial broker. And when I started working with a commercial broker, I'm like, man, these multifamily guys, man, they got these they're looking for these big multifamilies. They're talking about all these numbers, and they're all syndicators. And so I started getting to that world where I was doing cold calling for her, and I was trying to get it. She took me under her wing, and I really started understanding the game. And then finally I was okay, that's the game I want to be in. So I'm kind of still in the process of doing that. I don't own my own multifamily. I do happen to be a limited partner, but again, it's always my way in to kind of like learn learn through by kind of like osmosis and being submerged in that environment. And that's one thing when I talk about the experiment, you kind of got to dive in so you can get that experience. And so today, I'm a limited partner. I have committed verbal commitments from investors because I put myself out there, and I have the OPT meetup in 3 different states, and I'm super connector. I'm surrounding myself with people who are doing it at a 10x. And in that sense, without those experiments, it led to an opportunity where I realized with my marketing background, I have a lot of marketing background from running my e-commerce business before, because I was always dabbling and doing a lot of stuff. But we did that at scales. Like we were doing like 6 figures in a month and spending tons of money on Facebook. So I learned a lot of stuff on that, and which then led to now where I'm at today. I'm the director of invested talent. What we do is we help real estate investors tell their story using video. So it's digital marketing. So now it's a combination of still helping people find homes in the Georgia market as a realtor, but I'm actually all of them are investors, so that one day they can invest with me. That's a long-term goal. And then I provide service to people, syndicators in the multifamily space. Not only do I get a chance to build relationships, but then grow my agency at the same time, and it all ties full circle for the end goal to
I love it.
multifamily goal. So that's the experiment, and that's where I'm at today. That's what you're catching me at, man.
Man, I love the vision, man. That's such a grand vision, and how you're using your business to connect with other people as well. And I'm sure it's going to come full circle, man. You're a good dude, and I see it happening.
Appreciate that.
So let's go from there. What deals as you started into this? Because obviously wholesale is tough, man. We tried that ourselves, and that's not an easy gig, and takes a lot of money and marketing. But then you obviously didn't find your niche, but now you're an agent. How do you use that to circle back into the real estate game? Do you buy deals yourself? How does that work?
Yeah, so I partner on deals. I'm all about partnerships right now, just because of leveraging capital. All the money that I make, last deal I actually sold on the agent side, actually invested into a limited partnership. So it kind of all ties in. And then I'm also using these partners to, like, there's one right now where it's a guy from my meetup where we're closing this Monday. Everything from a distance. I kind of have my boots on the ground team. I have 2 other associates that I work with because I'm based out of New York and they're in Georgia. And so that deal is I'm representing on the agent side, but then we're also actively looking to invest together, and they're doing fix and flips. So it's not so much that I'm getting to the fix and flip game, because I know that's not my end goal, but we're building a relationship for the end goal of getting to build a bigger unit. So if I can service them with my agent services and help them get their deals, then they remember Reuben as the guy that helped them, so that when I need to raise capital and I know that I have capital, it kind of comes in full together. So right now I would say that the limited partnership, we're doing some stuff out of state as well. Where we're doing some rehab on the partnership side, but really for me, I'm not the one getting it on the rehab end of things. I'm kind of helping foster the relationship of that transaction, whether I'm a partner on it or whether I'm representing as an agent. So then later on, when I need them for a favor or they want to be part of what I'm doing, we've already established that relationship. So I'm always thinking long term.
Nice. Awesome, man. German, what you got?
Brother, so just to focus on the multifamily side. And you say you're a limited partner, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're not fully engaged in finding the deal and
and I'd like to get
deal and all that stuff.
Yeah, I'd like to get closer. I'd like to get closer to the numbers, and that's one thing where we talked about it on offline too, and with a lot of other folks, where there's ways that you can become a GP so you can get more exposure to that. And I think that's where I'm at right now. So if you're listening and you like, if you see that there's some synergy, I think that's the next phase for me. Yeah. And I'm kind of there in the sense of. Now, I don't have a deal when it comes from multifamily, but I have that joint venture commitment from a close relationship again that I had. I created a course for this guy. We have a great relationship. He bought the company of my partners, and he knows me as the subject matter expert in real estate. So we're always evaluating deals together where if I'm ready, he's going to front the capital, and I'm going to put the deal together and bring in the right people, right? So in that sense, that's always on background, but you got to find a deal, right? So that's why I'm always out there and making sure, you know, got to run the numbers. You got to have the right people bring you the right deals, whether it's a broker or if it's an associate, whether it's an owner. And that's why I'm really big on this whole networking thing, because every opportunity that's come, it's come from networking. So, but yeah, to answer your question, on the limited side, and I'm trying to get a little bit more exposure on that end for sure.
And that's amazing, because I mean, we get people, you know, that are involved in multifamily, and they do it different ways. So there is not just one entry point, right? That's the point where I want to get. So for the listeners and the viewers that are watching right now, that are like, okay, how do I get into multifamily, right? They have the idea, they heard it. But now they don't know how to get it, right? Hey, I don't have the funding, or I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to find the deals. How did you get into your first deal? How do you know that was a good deal and got into that entrance?
Well, first for me, you got to know who the operator is, and you know how, you know, what their strategy is, you know, what their end goal is, and what their existing portfolio is as far as credibility goes. And, you know, I always talk about too, of, you know, it's a partnership. So you got to make sure that you're in alignment with what they believe in and what their projections are for future deals. Because if you realize, everything I'm doing is relationship based, where I'm playing the long-term game. So I want to like who I'm working with. So that's one. And then obviously they have to have a track record, right, of bringing favorable returns and to their investors, and then access, right? Some of them I found out, oh wait, I'm not going to get as much access as I thought I'd get, and some you're realizing that maybe they just don't have the time. So I think if you're listening, it's, you know, what's right for you. How much do you want to be involved? Maybe some of us are listening, they want to be a passive investor. To be honest, right now it makes more sense for me, because I'm really doubling down on my agency and my business, because I know that that's going to open up more doors. So for me to try to, I think one of the things I learned too that I failed to mention is that I had the wrong idea when I got my license, that I was going to try to beat people to the deals. Like, I thought my license was going to help me. No, look, there's people who are doing this every single day. They relieve and do this, whether it's a broke, that's their job. So if you're going to want to do someone else's job, you're going to, you better be the best at it and be fully committed. I can't have my hands in too many things and be like, try to run an agency, have a full-time job, and then try to find deals. You're just not going to outwork the person who's doing that every single day. So I think that was one of the things, but you learn through that. And to answer your question, it's, going back to, you just got to understand, I think, and emulate. Okay, do I want to be in that person's shoes? Do I want to exchange places with them? Can I learn from them? Okay, great. Obviously, does the deal make sense? Okay, cool. Let me go ahead and learn from this person or these people. Yeah,
that's a great point. So, what was the experience? So you find this this person that got the deal, right? What was your experience going through it? You know, like, I'm talking about the psychological experience. Oh my God, is this guy legit? Oh my God, am I gonna lose my money? Or how does that work?
Oh, it's easy. You just start a podcast and you connect with them, and then you build a relationship. No,
awesome.
you know, guys, like, I can't make this up. Like, I preach what I practice. No, you guys, we're talking about this, but I want everyone to know. Okay, so when because I want to get to your answer, German.
Yeah.
But I want to really make a big, like statement on how important it is to get started when you're not ready. So when I started my first meetup, I brought my sister just in case no one showed up, and no one showed up. Right. So it was just me and my sister, and we just kicked it. So it was good. It was family time. Then after that, a few people started trickling in. Then after that, this is why I want to talk about this whole omnipresence, and you don't have to know everything. You're just saying, hey, and at my client, I have a client who's doing this. Like, you bring people together and be like, hey, I want to learn about this. And it's about the people who you're bringing together. It's not about you. And the reason why I'm saying this is because these are the people I'm building relationships with, where I just took and I said, hey, I want to put a meetup together. Who's going to show up? Okay, sure. At first, no one's going to show up, but then people start showing up. And I've had people listen to my podcast who came to my meetup, to then I did a real estate deal with them. I'm not making this up. And if you're listening out there, shout out to Jason. This literally, he's like, yeah, I listen to your podcast, man. I'm like, you did? I had like 10 listeners. And then he came to my meetup.
That's great.
And then we did a deal together. I helped him get into this duplex. And now this guy, he knows my vision. He's like, oh yeah, Ruben, if you're raising capital any day, like, I'm in. So that's the kind of stuff. And like, and you don't have to be an expert, but you want to be surrounded with those people. So when you ask me that, well, I'm saying, well, I kind of I interview people, I get interest. Like, I like you guys already. If there's an opportunity, I know we're going to do business together down the road. It could be next year, 2 years,
Awesome.
5 years. But someone's gonna ask me, how did you know German was right? Because we've masterminded together. We've gone on podcasts together. I just connected with your buddy Anthony. Shout out to Anthony the other day. I don't know if you know Anthony Franco.
Yeah.
Same
Oh,
world.
yeah.
So of course. So yes, it's vetted. It's like, okay, I like these guys. I know them. I like them. They're serious. Let's do business together. And obviously, with that, obviously, it's not just rainbows. Or sometimes, okay, this relationship doesn't make sense anymore. This partnership doesn't make sense, or there's no synergy. That's fine, but you adjust along the way. But yes, that's how you find good people. You just start a podcast and connect with them, or start a meetup. Seriously, though, all jokes aside, it's just just connect. Put yourself out there.
Yeah, relationship, man. And I love it because when we were scared to put ourselves out there, but man, we've met so many amazing people, including yourself, and it's paid 100-fold, like people, like you said, people listen to you and you're like, wow, you actually listen and my vision. That's amazing, brother.
Yeah.
It really
honestly, it's the imposter syndrome too. And what I want to say is, like, I think when I started my vision, my goal was to always be as humble as possible, right? Like, when you're listening to me, I'm not saying I did this, I did that. I'm saying, hey, I'm surrounding myself with people who are doing this, and I'm learning from that, and now I'm progressing along with them along the way. That's what the real estate experiment is all about. It's experimenting these things, and it doesn't have to be your experiences. It can be experiences of others that propel you upward, and that's what it should be. If you're learning, you're not going to be perfect out there. You're going to make mistakes, but if you can learn from mistakes that other people have made, or there's someone in your corner that's able to tell you, hey, Ruben, I wouldn't do this. I mean, those are the kind of people I want to be with. And that's including you guys. I've learned already tons of things of being with you guys already. And so that's the journey, man.
Awesome,
that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your limited partner deal here. Go a little bit more into detail, just for people who may not be comfortable going in as a limited partner. What made you actually change your mind, other than what you already said, which is you want to get insight into the back end of how they're actually running the business?
Yeah. So originally I had it's funny you say that, because originally I had gotten access to another limited partnership without really getting access, just because it's a client I helped close. He's like, oh, you want to see how this works? Ruben, I'll show you, but this is between you and I. And so I was like, my entire thing is to I fostered the relationship with it, and then I said I want to kind of see how you guys operate. Now, one thing I did learn is that as a limited partner, if you're listening out there, I thought I would have a little bit more access, and I didn't. So now I learned that. I'm like, okay, cool. So now let's talk about what you guys are talking about, like getting a little bit more GP. So for that, the reason why I did it is because the entry was I think it was a 50. Hold on, it was not 506. It wasn't 506B. It was a
Let's see.
It was actually a tier regulation A tier 2.
Oh, okay.
Funding. Yeah. And so that was okay. That was a little different, because that one's like, okay, it's a lower barrier of entry, but it's kind of like a good experience that way. And at the same time, you get access to the portfolio, but not as much as you would like, not the day-to-day decisions, so for me, it was kind of like, when I did that, like, I knew the person, I'm like, I want to see how much access I can get to them, and I didn't. So I'm like, okay, let me learn from that. Let me then go more into maybe being a GP, because I know that's also really good from a lender perspective down the road, as you can get more exposure. So I think that's why I don't have as much to share, and I wish I could, because there's not as much exposure as I would like to have. And I think that is a good key takeaway. Now, there might be some out there where you might have a relationship and maybe you're a little limited partner, you do have more access. So, and I think what I would say to someone who's listening, I think it's maybe good to know up front of how much access to the day-to-day you would have, because for me, I didn't necessarily want to be passive. I want to learn from the process of the day-to-day of how they're managing the portfolio. But that's something that maybe learning moving forward, that you can kind of learn and, hey, understand, hey, how much, how many meetings are we going to have, or how many decisions are we going to make, etc. So, yeah.
So did you not have that established before you went in, or was it that maybe what was said and the expectation wasn't actually met? What was the disconnect there?
Well, I think the disconnect is it was when I know the person, but they're running a business, right? And so you can give them a call, but you can't commingle the their process, right? Because they have a way that they're doing things. So I don't think, like, going into it, I knew it made sense because I would have access because I knew the person, but I was hoping I would get a little bit more. So it wasn't that expectations weren't met. I was just hoping that with the relationship, maybe would get a little bit more. But the reality of the thing is, when someone's a big player that way, they may not have as much time, and you can understand that. So then you realize, okay, maybe if you're more of a GP and you can bring a little bit more, then it's more realistic for them to take a little bit, more time with you. It's kind of like, it's the same thing in my business. I set expectations of how much access you can have with someone. I was just kind of like hoping I'd get more. But it's not that didn't meet expectations, or else that wouldn't really be best business practice. I was just thinking my networking would get me a little bit more insight. But I think that's just the nature of the beast.
Okay. But you have a great experience though, because right now, I mean, yeah, you don't have as much access to the details on how the operation works, but you have now a full proof that the business works,
Yep.
So you just need a little more education, a little more access, and you know that it's going to work.
Yeah.
So for those of you who are listening, don't feel that is, bad just to invest in multifamily, don't have access. At least, this is proof, this deal work. It's going to mature one day. You're going to get your money back, and then you're going to have more access into it. At least you got your foot in the door.
Yeah, German, I think that's important too, because sometimes I think I always talk about this, a proof of concept. I think it's really important for you to see, and I know I learned this when I was on the business side, and this is why I go to conferences a lot, when you can see people who look like you, who are exactly where you're at, who are doing 10x, and you're looking at yourself, well, why can't I do that? You need to see that they can do it too, and the kind of like affirmation of it, right? So, no, and I'm 100%. A believer of that you sometimes need to be close to it to see it, and rather than kind of seeing it from a distance.
Awesome.
No, that's great, man. So let me ask you this, moving a little bit more into the aspect of your media agency. When you're bringing on the client and everything revolves real estate. So how exactly do you start that process, and what do you offer for them?
Oh, sure. So I think I always like to understand, what is it that you're trying to do, right? And we talk about this. And when I say that, is social media is thrown out there it's a large umbrella. It's just like saying, I want to do real estate. Well, what kind of real estate do you want to do, right? I want to build a social media presence. Well, what is it that you're trying to do? Are you trying to get more engagement? Are you trying to get more reach? Are you trying to convert? Do you also sell a product, right? So once I understand that, then I'm able to understand, okay, what is the lowest hanging fruit, right? And what I mean by that is, where are you already gaining traction? I think that's really important, because I think people want to go against the grain from the get-go, and it's something that they're not really doing. Anytime you're adding a new habit to something, you have to tie it to an existing habit. So maybe you're gaining traction on, maybe it's Instagram, or maybe it's Facebook, or maybe you're already doing these kind of interviews. You just don't realize that you have all this data, all this content that's sitting there that you're not sharing with the community. And so we're really big on repurposing content. So that's literally the foundation. And when I say repurposing content, it means that even this episode right now, it's recorded. Well, guess what? There might be some questions in here, or a piece of content that can help someone, that if they hear you say, they might have heard it from Grant, they might have heard it from something, it doesn't matter, but they hear Oscar and German say it, they connect with more. Like, literally, that's what we just talked about. They'll connect with you more how you say it. Like, how many people, the pie is big enough for everybody to have a piece of it, right? So it's really important that people say, oh yeah, but there's already tons of videos of, guys, how many podcasts do we have that are existing out there, but they're still having an impact? Like one of my podcasts literally led to somebody coming into my network. So it doesn't mean that just because their podcast library was full of tons of other shows they're listening to, that wasn't good enough for them to connect with me, right? So I think, that's kind of like how we start the conversation, and then say, understanding your end goal. Okay, cool. Let's build on what you're currently already doing, and let's bring that online. And for us, that's video. And the reason that's important, because video, you can take a video right here. If you have a writer, they could write a blog on it. You can take a clip from it, and you can go on Facebook, and go on LinkedIn, and go on Instagram, and it's a message, right, where people's attention and eyeballs are. So really, that's really what the conversation is. And then they also understand that I'm in this space. That's literally how I build my network. from whether it's speaking in forums and bigger pockets, or literally DMing people to come on the show, learning from them and getting deals out of it. So I that's the conversation that I have before I onboard someone, understand what their end goal is, and then understand their trajectory as well, the long-term game for them, the long-term vision.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
That is great to hear, because I think the power of social media is ridiculous. And then also, the fact that you're putting yourself out there and getting all this stuff done is pretty cool, man. It really is. German, what you got?
Sorry. No, I'm very impressed, and I like what you do, man. And I like the your perspective as an investor, as a limited partner investor, and that's what we wanted to bring to the audience. There's different aspects, different entry ways to real estate investing, and I think your story, your experience, and everything that you do, man. I mean, you're everywhere. Omnipresence is that what we're trying to learn, and we're learning every day. We're learning more about social media, and that's incredible. What you're doing is incredible, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So, go ahead, man.
No, go ahead.
So, what's the next step for you, man? So you got your deal, limited partner, and we know you want to learn more and have more. So, what's the next step, or what are you working on right now?
What I'm focusing on right now, we've got tons of clients, especially, I don't know if it's because this is the digital age now, right? Like people are literally doing a lot of stuff digitally, and so we've gotten tons of referrals and stuff. So one of the things that I'm doing, I'm big on building teams. So just hiring new people, building systems that are sound. Right now, I am definitely more focused on the agency side, because it's been opening more doors and it's creating real relationships and it's creating a service. And obviously it's creating, it's a profitable business that can everything that I do, my day job, which we didn't talk about, my selling my real estate and the agency, all that money is being gathered to pour into real estate, right? So what I'm doing right now is making sure that we're helping their people literally tell their story using video. And I do have I'm always doing partnerships, and the reason I do that is so that I don't get too sidetracked. I think for example, my agency offers services that helps investors, whether it's cold calling, lead generation, etc. So there's an investor who has a proof of concept in Ohio right now that I'm working on, where we're using my agency obviously for wholesale prices, and he has the financing, the rehab guys, etc. And guess what? We met from a meetup that I hosted. So I'm all about kind of creating these partnerships that are scalable and that I can leverage, where I already know what I'm good at, so I want to focus on that, and I know it's going to open up doors for the long-term goal. So right now, to answer your question, is focusing on the agency and systems operations for scalability, and then continuously having my small kind of deals in Georgia, Ohio, that I'm working on with partners.
That's awesome.
That's awesome, man. All right, so to wrap it up, and just tell the people where they can find you, man.
Oh man, you can find me at like you said, the Real Estate Experiment, at the Real Estate Experiment on Instagram. That's where I'm the most active. Like if you DM me right now, I'm trying to keep up with Oscar and German's response rate time and try to respond to you right away, man. You guys are on some. I've been timing you guys, man. You guys are on some other stuff, bro. I respect that.
We're trying.
I gotta check what you guys are doing over there, man. I gotta send the feds out there. No, but you guys are crushing it with that, and I think that's important, because and I mean that. So the Real Estate Experiment, DM me, will time you. If it takes longer than it takes, then I'm not a man of my word, but I will look, I will respond. And you can find me on YouTube, LinkedIn, same thing, Real Estate Experiment. And then most importantly, right now, investedtalent.com/social media, or investedtalent.com. You can't miss it. Just click the social media tab. That's where you'll see a lot of our work is, and a lot of our services, where we help real estate investors tell their stories using video.
Awesome, man. I love it, man. Thank you so much for coming, being on the show. We appreciate it, man. You are awesome, and since we met, like, you're an inspiration to us, man, because you're doing it, man. You're getting out there and you're making it happen.
Good energy, bro.
Yeah,
I appreciate you guys too, man. We definitely look out for a collaboration. I'm putting it out into the universe, man. I love these guys.